Hi guys, this is Rheuben, and this is the first in my new series of videos called Tales of a Woodwind Repairman. I've been a woodwind repairman now for well over 50 years and met some very interesting clients and had some very interesting situations and stuff like that, so I'd like to share some of them with you. This one, the first one I'm going to talk to you about, is entitled How I Met Wilt Chamberlain. Now, Wilt was one of my best friends later on, but the way I met him was I was sitting in my shop in Van Nuys, California, that I shared with Bob Malone, the head brass guy for Yamaha in the U.S. now, and the phone rang. And I picked it up, and the voice on the other end said, "Hi, this is Wilt Chamberlain, I want to buy a saxophone." So I said, okay, and I gave him directions on how to get there, and didn't think much more about it, and hung up. By this point, I figured that somebody could have been named after Wilt Chamberlain. I wasn't thinking the Wilt Chamberlain was going to come in to buy a saxophone. So sure enough, when he showed up about 45 minutes later, it was the Wilt Chamberlain. He came in, no shirt, no shoes, workout pants, and came back and said, "I want to buy a saxophone." I was a Yamaha dealer at the time, so he wanted to buy a tenor. So I got out a custom Yamaha tenor saxophone and put it together for him and showed him basically how to play a few things. And his hands were so big, like if this is the saxophone, this is the key. Your hands, my hand's like this. His hand was out here, so there was a lot of distance for him to try and get to the keys. So at first I thought about, finding some way to alter the keys, but then it would have been so big it wouldn't have fit a case. So I gave that up, and he got to play some notes. I showed him how to take it apart, how to put it back together several times. And he got to put it in the case, and purchased a saxophone, and he left. And so it was great. Got to meet him and all that kind of stuff. And then about 2 hours later, he called me, and at this point, I had made a very forgettable low-budget action adventure called Run for the Border. And he saw the poster on the wall, and he said, "Did you make that movie?" And I said, "Yes, I did." He said, "Well, I want to make some low-budget action adventures, and so would you like to go to dinner tonight and talk about it?" Well, of course, I said yes. So I think we went to Marie Callender's on Ventura Boulevard and had dinner and some pie and stuff like that, and talked about movies. And after that, we became friends, and I hung out with him a lot for the next 4 or 5 years. Back to the saxophone part of his life, I introduced him to my friend Lou Malero, who played saxophone, and Lou started giving him lessons. And over the course of the next 3 or 4 years, Wilt got to where he could play melodies, jazz melodies, and play things like that. He was studying theory and all that kind of stuff, and doing pretty well. As it turned out, he had owned jazz clubs a lot in his lifetime. So he really liked jazz, and he really wanted to have jazz as a part of his life. So he took up the saxophone, and it was very interesting, and I think he really enjoyed it. And I'd go to his house sometimes, and he'd play the latest thing that Lou had taught him to play, a new song, and he had a ball doing that kind of stuff. So I think it was really a very enjoyable part of his life. And there will be more stories about Mr. Chamberlain as the years go past, if I live that long. And so this is the first of Tales of the Woodwind Repairman.